Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Some stories don't begin with a dream. They begin with survival.
My family, my biological parents, were not able to take care of my brother and I.
What journey did life take you on when all of a sudden Matt's now ruling his own life in the absence of that father figure?
I don't know if he knew it was changing my life because I couldn't express all of it. I don't know who you are, but I want to.
Some stories don't begin with a dream. They begin with survival, with chaos, with trauma, with a childhood that teaches you how to defend yourself long before it teaches you how to trust someone else. Today's guest didn't grow up wondering what he would become. He grew up wondering if he would make it out alive. But somewhere between broken systems, loss, anger, and more than one moment where life felt too heavy to carry on, he encountered something that changed everything. Not a program, not a plan, but a person. Welcome to the SwagAbility Show, where faith meets resilience and stories become light in dark places. I'm your host, Stephen Wagstaff, founder of SwagAbility, where our mission is to help you thrive wherever life finds you. If you've ever faced adversity, trauma, loss, or burnout, this place is for you. We believe your story still has power and your life still has purpose. My guest today is Matt Stafford, founder of the Vincent James Mentoring. Matt's work is rooted in personal experience shaped by a childhood trauma, loss, and multiple life-threatening situations that would have caused many people to shut down. But instead, those moments became the foundation for a mentoring outreach dedicated to helping young people and families navigate some of these life's darkest seasons. Matt, thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to hang with us on the SwagAbility Show.
I am so very grateful to be a part of the show. And then, also my story is kind of child's play compared to other people's story. And one thing that I would like to say right off the bat is there is hope where there is no hope.
Amen. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that hope. Before you began doing the work you're doing now with the outreach you've got, which we'll touch on a little bit later, I don't know how rough it's going to be, but can you take my listeners kind of back to the beginning, what life was like growing up for you from a young age? And
So I have a very unique story. So I grew up in foster care. I was permanently placed, my brother and I were permanently placed in foster care and with a specific family, and it's the Canagleros. To me, when I was called a foster child or anybody called me, that term fostered, I took it as an offense. But it is a blessing, to be in the foster care system. But I was the seventh in my family. I'm the youngest, but I would also say I'm probably the most outspoken. Tongue in cheek, I might be the most handsome or cutest. My family, my biological parents, were not able to take care of my brother and I, and they gave us up. And
what age?
I was 2.5. I was 2 when my biological mother called the system, called the police on herself, because literally she had, my file read that she had me upside down by my ankles and had a knife to my belly. And she was on the phone to the cops saying, hey, if you don't come get my kids, I'm going to kill them. And, we were.
Do you have memories at that age, at 2.5? Like, I can't remember that far back, but some of this stuff get imprinted into the brain.
Fear gets imprinted. That's what's imprinted on the brain. Memories, yes, but not that young. I have memories, with different scenarios with my biological mother that, gosh darn it, was not good whatsoever. It was weird growing up, knowing you're loved by your family, but by your biological mother and father, it's, I love you unconditionally, but I want to kill you. It's really weird. So
when did you realize your environment wasn't safe?
My foster family, the environment was safe. With visits to my biological mother and father, that wasn't safe. And,
Gotcha.
we were on forced visitations. So I absolutely hated it. But I had one saving grace throughout my childhood life and my teenager years was my father. Now, I was a daddy's boy through and through. I believe my dad could fight God. And
is this your foster, what you would call your
yes.
foster or your biological?
So if I talk about my family, I'm talking about my foster family. I do not even use the term much as foster family because,
Gotcha.
to be honest, they're just my family.
Yep.
I love them as such, and well, gosh darn it, they just can't get rid of me. So my father was, to me, stronger than God. Right? If God and my dad were going to go into a boxing match, well, I'm sorry, God, you're about to lose. So I have.
My opinion.
I had a hero complex as well. We had a challenging upbringing. I had the mindset of, am I worthy to be in the family? I have a biological mother and father that love me but want to harm me. And I grew up with a father that gave me stability with his family. My brothers, my sisters, my mom, his wife. But we had something unprecedented to happen to any family. You've probably experienced death, throughout your life. Well, our family has experienced death. 7 people died in 6 years in a row.
At a young age?
It was at 12, and so my sister and her husband died in a car accident together. And then there was a death every single year after. And my father died when I was 15.
Yeah, your one you call family,
right? My
father.
So
that man that you idolized so much was gone at the age of 15.
right, and I didn't understand death. I understood that my father gave me security. The wonderful aspect of growing up in a big family is, you have the camaraderie. And you have the ability to have shenanigans. I put itching powder in my brother's shampoo. The butt whoopings I got for the shenanigans are hilarious. But
humor is a great tool from God.
I tell you what, my parents did not have a dull moment with me.
How many when they adopted you and your brother, did you have older siblings that were also in the foster care?
So
also, secondly, family you were adopted into, what size of family did that make with you and your brother there?
So I'll correct you for a second. I was permanently placed. I wasn't adopted. Permanent placement is like adoption, but you don't get the last name of the family. So as I fought and I cried and I, wailed to my dad, why can't I have your last name? My biological mother kept her parental rights that, the courts knew she was mentally disabled. I wanted to be a Coneglero in the worst way in the world.
So this father that you absolutely adored, and then at age 15, there becomes this massive vacuum when he's taken out of your life.
Yeah.
What did life look like after that hero of yours was all of a sudden absent. Where's Matt now in terms of his health, mental health, physical health, life? Take us down that story for a bit.
So I don't know if I ever had good mental health growing up. I always had underlining annoyance or anger. I was always doing something to get attention. But I needed therapy, but no, our family didn't do therapy, right? It was,
Yeah.
We went to church,
Mental health. Yeah.
right? So to state off that, even from a young age of 5, I didn't have good mental health. When my father passed away, it was like taking air off of the face of the earth. It was like breathing water. He was the person that held our family together. We still get together a lot, but we're a close-knit family, but still, it was like dropping a nuclear bomb in the midst of the grief that we've had because my sister and her husband dies. My father's daughter passes away. There's other family members that passed away. We didn't have time to grieve at all. And mental health, oh my gosh, throw it out the window. The antics that I had before that my dad passed away were nothing compared to the antics after he passed away.
Let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah.
Like what journey did life take you on when all of a sudden Matt's now ruling his own life in the absence of that father figure for guidance? How's Matt directing his life, and what kind of stuff did you get into?
Let me state it like this. Do you feel like you could control gravity?
Yeah, no.
No. No one on the face of the planet could control me. There is some people that could aim me in the right direction, but I was ready to go to war all the time. The rage that was inside me that I didn't know how to control, it was grief, coming out as anger. And with the complex, with not knowing where I belong, who am I to my family? Why is my family dying? Why can't I control this? I was more than suicidal. I had a backpack and I took a butcher's knife and I had a suicide note and I carried that probably for 3 weeks. And I went to a place called the Teen Center. I was planning to commit suicide. I was going to slit my throat on the doorstep of my church. I was going to make a statement. Well, I'm a little bit of a loud personality, so I was going to make a statement. And there was a man named Dean Culver that opened up a place called the Teen Center. And this is right when my father died, like a month afterwards, maybe a month and a half. And I don't know, our family doesn't know how to manage this hardship because the person that led our family just passed away. This man named Dean Culver gave me a hug. I was the second teen that walked into this teen center. And my dad, he loved giving hugs. I hope every time I give somebody a hug or a handshake or I embrace someone, there's just a sliver of that hug is given to the individuals that I meet. So I'm saying,
what went through your mind when you got that hug from this man named Dean?
Yeah, so Dean Culver didn't know me from Adam, and he gives me a hug. I'm the second kid to walk through this teen center, and I immediately go outside. There's 20, 30 different kids trying to get in, and I go and I start bawling. All I know is to throw away the backpack. Now, that didn't stop my suicidal tendencies, but Dean saved my life as a 15-year-old when I was 15. Dean and his family, his wife, they set out to change the lives of teens within Waukesha, Wisconsin, and they've done it. They've saved so many lives. It's wonderful to hear those stories now. But Dean didn't know I was suicidal. He didn't know me from Adam. So while I was going through the teen center, I was loyal to Dean. I went to the teen center every weekend. I mean, I had some shenanigans
How
there.
old was Dean? Sorry to cut you off. Like, I'm just trying to think, your father passed away at what rough age? And what do you think roughly your father passed away at what age? And roughly how old would Dean have been at this center?
Dean was probably in his young mid 40s, and
Wow.
whatnot. My dad passed away when I think he was 53 when he passed
Oh,
away.
yeah. Gotcha.
It,
Sorry.
if
Keep going with your story.
I was the teen, then I became the volunteer, and Dean couldn't get rid of me. I mean, he'd look around and be like, "Why is this little midget kid here again?" You know,
Yeah.
I just loved the place, and I had a complex as well. I wanted to be a Culver. I wanted his last name. I wanted, to be a Canaglero. Well, that wasn't going to happen. Well, then I wanted to be a Culver because the Dean was my mentor. And to be honest, I didn't really talk to Dean a whole lot in the teen center. We interacted. I wasn't like set apart, a lot. We did a couple things together. Like he had a boardroom, and a couple times I got to sit in the board meetings. Just he was trying to teach me, but the lessons that he gave, I don't know if he knew it was changing my life because I couldn't express all of it. I'm still full of anger. And yes, I did go to church growing up, and church was, gosh, I sold drugs at church. I mean, I was a good little Christian boy with a backpack full of shrooms, weed, and paraphernalia so I did that stuff until I was about 18. Then,
Mhm.
there was another organization that I was a part of that was a growth of the teen center, and I spent about 15 years in that nonprofit.
Are these weekly meetings? I'm sorry
Yeah,
to
no,
interrupt.
no.
Like when you're talking about this dean gentleman in the teen center, is this after
Mm.
schools? Is this like when did you hang out? And was it just his character that drew you to, like, outside of the hug? Was it just the man that he exuded from his life that drew you to him?
Well, yes, but it also was a way to tick off my mom, right?
Oh,
So my mom didn't want me to go to the teen center. She thought there was some bad influences there, and well, she didn't know it. I was the bad influence. So my best friend in high school was a drug dealer. I mean, gosh, the shenanigans I had. Cops knew me by my middle name. They'd roll
jeez.
down the window and be like, "Hey, Earl, you doing anything stupid today? Can we write you a ticket?" And we're like, "Well, if you follow me, maybe. Let's find out." And I just had that type of confidence, right? And I,
How important is it, do you think, for young people in crisis to have a safe adult in, like, presence in their life, somebody that is kind of this pillar of hope?
I'm gonna talk about a man named Dean, about Bill Gunderson in a moment, and he's just like Dean Culver, an individual that you could have a mentor of, like a pastor or a teacher or somebody. It's
Mm.
so important to the development of a young guy, a young man, or a female, a
Mhm.
girl. And everybody needs a mentor. We choose
Yeah.
mentors without our knowledge. So, I was involved in this place called Strong Links after the teen center,
Mm.
and I never dealt with my anger. I never dealt with, the guilt. I just focused it in a different way. There was another man that took over the teen center, but I learned many lessons from this individual. But we eventually had to dissolve Strong Links. Well,
This was located in whereabouts?
so Strong Links was in Pewaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh,
Waukesha,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is like 15 minutes away.
Gotcha.
So as the teen center was Dean left the teen center, because there was needing a change. And
Yep.
when Dean left the teen center, I was about 19, maybe 20. And
Still hanging out.
right, I'm still suicidal within those 5 years. I've tried to pop some pills. I drink a lot. I mean,
Was it for attention or to kill pain or both?
I didn't,
Or was it authentic life? I don't want to continue.
I wanted to go to heaven just to hug my father.
Yeah.
So I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I wanted to die not to end my life or end the suffering. I wanted the embrace of my father. And that, I mean, how else can you do that, right? I mean, yes, I had a lot of grief and a lot of guilt and a lot of anger and pain, but without the right mentors, you can't manage that right, or the good therapist, or a faith in God. You can't manage that correctly.
When did the turning point come?
Well, this is where Bill Gunderson comes involved. So I'm about 28 this time. I spent my time in Strong Links, but we had 3 deaths in Strong Links. A boy named Gilbert passed away from a drug overdose. A boy named Bradley died from a accidental car accident. And another boy named another Bradley, passed away by suicide. He hung himself. And, well, I didn't know what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So I had an individual that was going to help me start a brewery, but then said no. So I said, all right, in my mind, I'm going to commit suicide. Well, looks like it's a shotgun shell. Then I had another person that I worked with asked me to tell their story. They asked me to tell
Sure.
story. Well, gosh darn it. They said, Matt, you should start a nonprofit. You've done nonprofit work all your life. Why don't you help out some families and kids? Well, that wasn't the right answer. I didn't want to hear that. And by the way, I've never went to therapy my whole entire life,
Wow.
at all. So that's another thing. I had another friend that, later that night asked me how's my day and what I should do. And gosh darn it, he said, Matt, you should start a nonprofit. Well, him and I got into a little bit of a tussle. And that night I had a psychotic break. I live about about a half a mile away from Pewaukee Lake. So Pewaukee Lake is where my father used to take us fishing most weekends. And after a while, I had this psychotic break. I felt like, God was inspiring me to start a nonprofit. I didn't want to do it. Then I go to this church that Sunday I wanted to start a fight. So the first pastor I see, I'm going to fight him. Well, Jiminy Crickets, it was Pastor Bill Gunderson that gave me a hug when I walked in the door. And I was going to fight him, but he gave me a hug. And that hug saved my life. Now, that hug inspired a nonprofit. The hug from my father inspired a nonprofit. Dean Culver saved my life from, when I was 15. Bill Gunderson saved my life and maybe some jail time because Jiminy Crickets, he didn't know I was going to fight him. And it's so important to have mentors. It's so important to have a stable faith. I am so grateful now to be alive. I have a daughter. I have a wife. I can't believe I have the life I have. So, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about Vincent James mentoring?
That's exactly where the page was going to turn here. Yeah. I want to know about after this dramatic moment and the change in heart. All of a sudden, this new passion is building up inside you, and it's this James Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent James mentoring.
Yeah. Tell us about this.
So I used to break into a lot of buildings when I was a teenager. I mean, you do stuff to do things, right? And I used to break into a place called, it was 307 East Main Street. So it's a historical building. It's one more historical buildings here in Waukesha. And while I was building the format of the nonprofit, and I always wanted this facility. So Vincent James Mentoring is built upon the kitchen table, right? We all have to eat. When I finally accepted that I needed to get therapy to to have somewhat of an understanding of why I'm always so angry, I realized I was hungry beforehand and then I'm hungry afterwards. I want to tell the listeners therapy is a wonderful thing, but therapy is not the answer and not the fix to everything. Your faith in God and having structured friends, and if you do need therapy, to get therapy. So I was like, gosh darn it, if I'm going to have a nonprofit, what am I going to build? Well, I want to build a place for mentoring and a place where people are not afraid to go get therapy. So that's what I'm building. I'm building in a 106-year-old building, and it's a really cool building. It's funny that I'm in the building that I used to break into, and I have a deal to where I can buy the building, and it has a complete renovation, but we have a lot of stuff moving forward. Our therapy is
This Vincent James consist of, other than, the most important thing, yes, getting the kids the therapy they need. Tell me some of the other things that you're excited about building within this organization.
So let me ask you a question. Would you like to be, if your parents appointed a mentor to you, do you think you would listen to that mentor?
Not a
So our mentors are going to be trained as, gosh darn it, these kids and these families do not want to be mentored. So they're going to understand that first and foremost. And then we're working with the ones that, gosh darn it, are the hardest to work with. So here's what we're doing. The moment you open the door, if you can imagine, walking in and there's an individual that meets you with a smile and an embrace if you want. There's old Italian music in the air. There's old style recipes cooking on the stove. And it's like walking into a home, but a structured home. And it's built off of tradition. It's built off of clout of their security. What we will be able to give is the stability of family the moment you step upon our property. And then anywhere you meet my staff. The wonderful aspect that we have a niche of is there's no horror story that can surprise us.
Yes.
I mean, from my story, there is some stories, like I said in the beginning, that could put my story to shame, and that's very much true. But there's no story that can surprise us. Hopefully there's not one out there. There's not a person we're going to turn away. If we can help you, we're going to help you. And when you come in for a mentoring session or a therapy session, we will give you a plate of food. We'll give you the space you need, but also the stability you need as well. So I'll tell you, everything that I'm building is my father's hug. There's this wonderful guy that I know. His name's Will Connor, and he built a wonderful family with his wife and 3 daughters. And Jiminy Crickets, they are some strong-willed ladies. But it's wonderful how his family is. It's structured around the home, that the most important thing is family. And he's building up his land to have family over all the time. He's one of my great friends, and being able to have a great friend like him is a wonderful thing. A lot of people don't realize what friendship can do for you. Our world says we have to rely on ourselves. Well, yes, that's true, But if you don't have friendships, strong friendships, you don't have the stability that you absolutely need. And to have mentors, to have friends, it's great. And to have a support group, that's what's needed. I have really high expectations for the outreach, and we're doing something that no one else is doing. We're giving the stability of family at the kitchen table. One of the things we'll be doing is giving away or making a kitchen table for a family that needs one. We'll be building up a shop and everything where we'll build you a kitchen table. If you don't have one, you will have one.
Friends, before we continue on with Matt's story, I want to introduce the sponsor of today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by SwagAbility Studios. If you've ever thought about starting a podcast or felt overwhelmed by the tech, the software, or the headache of editing, that's exactly why we built SwagAbility Studios, your ultimate end-to-end podcast production service. Think of it as the perfect podcast in a box, complete with a professional written script, a guest aligned with your interest, recording setup and support, delivered to you in a final video with your favorite format, along with shorts for social media. So you can focus on the conversation and we'll handle the rest. Visit swagabilitystudios.com to learn more. That's swagabilitystudios.com to learn more. Let's go back to the show. Is mentorship so critical? Why do you think it? I mean, you can come up with an answer from a biblical view, but for you, what is the critical component that a mentorship brings to a young person and to that mentor, and maybe vice versa?
Mentors are wonderful because they are the voice of reason, right? So, or there's a term in the Bible called iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes.
You can't have a sharp knife without going on the sharpening wheel. But a mentor, the right mentor for your life, I had a horrible mentor. He was a good mentor for some reasons, but I had a mentor for about 15 years of my life that was, gosh darn, looking back at it, he wasn't the mentor I needed.
Yes.
But either way, I gave him my loyalty. The thing is, picking a mentor is so important. To have the stability of striving for more, being guided in something you want to do for the rest of your life. And then also a mentor says a lot of the same things your parent does, but what child listens to their parent?
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point.
So a mentor assists the family. A mentor assists the parenting and the environments of the teenager or the young adult. I'm 40 years old. I have 3 major mentors right now, and
Yes.
I could list them off right now. Will Connor, Bill Gunderson, Dean Culver. I have probably 10 other mentors I can list. Mentors are so important for us because,
I agree.
we stand upon the shoulders of the ones that believe in us. So,
Hebrews 11.
yes.
Yep. Hebrews 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
May I ask you, I know we've talked off air before, but of course, teenagers and coming with anger and things like that, often it's directed at God. And so I know you're not opening up a ministry, but tell me, what role does your faith play and your relationship with Jesus mean to you in building this counseling, the Vincent James mentoring program?
It means everything. Without my faith in God, I don't have anything. I love my daughter and I love my wife, but if I didn't have the faith in God, I wouldn't be able to love my wife properly. I wouldn't be able to give the stability to my daughter properly. With Vincent James Mentoring, and that Vincent James Mentoring is a non-religious outreach, but the individuals that are staffed or part of the board of directors or anybody involved in the day-to-day of Vincent James Mentoring has a strong faith in God. I tell you what, the outreach is there to help out the social system, help out the school system, but I do hope that by my works, they see the love of my Heavenly Father. I can tell you it's been a fight to say that I love God now. And it's because of Bill and Will and Patrick and multiple other individuals that helped me to push myself to refine the relationship, with God is important. It's the most important relationship other than your spouse that you'll ever have.
Two things. For the person that's listening that says, man, I want to get behind this. I want to help. I see the vision he's talking about. I want to help them get to whatever the finish line is. Tell me, what are some things that you would like to see in order to help you get to make this a reality?
So it's a cliche and a lot of people don't like it, but it takes money. I need financial partners. And, there's a way to donate on my website. But first, I need financial partners. Second, I need mentors. I need people that want to be mentors. Third, as I'm developing my building and developing the facility, I need some individuals that know real estate, can help me buy my building. It's only $300,000 to buy the building. That's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
I need property developers that could help assist in this. I'm just one guy. And I stand upon many shoulders. And I don't want to let the people that lifted me up down. The thing about our nonprofit that makes us totally different compared to any other nonprofit is that the moment we meet you is that we're family. The moment you ask us for help, we will give you everything we can do, we have.
Talk to the young person right now that's listening to this. Maybe they're catching it, or maybe their parent or the foster parent has shown them this podcast. To the young person that's listening right now who feels overwhelmed, unsafe, or unseen, maybe, what do you say to them in this moment right now?
All right, I'm gonna say some things to that person, and I may not be talking directly to you. I'm gonna speak directly to them. Okay, so it's gonna sound a little bit different.
No, not at all.
I don't know who you are, but I want to. My father gave me the stability that I needed. Now, anger is okay. Depression happens. If you allow it to control yourself, to control you, you're going to have a world of hurt. Don't get me wrong, I understand hurt. But what I want to show you and what I want to give is the hope. You may live in a different state or a different county, or you may even live in a different country like Canada. If you are asking for help, reach out. My number is 262-720. If you want to email me at matt@vincentjamesmentoring.org. I have my Facebook at Vincent James Mentoring. I have my personal Facebook. My life has two purposes: to love my family and love my God. But the second one is to serve. And if you are asking for help and you don't know how to reach out for help and you need it and you're scared to do it, let me help you. And I'm going to finish with this. You may not know me, but I love you. Like the mentors from my past, like Dean Culver, Bill Gunderson, they love you. They have faith in you. They have faith that you'll make the good decision. I have faith you'll reach out. We'll help wherever you are.
Thanks, Matt, for sharing that. And we'll put those contact info in the show notes, as well as how to give to your nonprofit. We'll make sure those are available also in the show notes. Friends, if today's conversations reminded you that adversity doesn't have to end your story, but it can become the beginning of your purpose, we want to know. We want to walk alongside you. We want to point you in the direction where you can connect with a Matt. So don't pass up the opportunity. At SwagAbility, our mission is to help individuals and families thrive wherever life finds you, and we invite you to. So you do us the greatest honor by subscribing to the SwagAbility Show on your favorite podcast platform. Secondly, check out our YouTube channel where all our full-length conversations exist. And thirdly, head to our website, SwagAbility.com, where you can also find a coaching, assistive technology, and support services like Matt, where we can direct you to mentoring and that. You can find it all at SwagAbility.com. This is the SwagAbility Show. Until next time, friends, stay encouraged, stay faithful, and remember, keep thriving wherever life finds you. Swags out.